Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get the real core knowledge from your source material.
That's right. We sift through it so you don't have to.
And today, we're really getting into something fundamental in English. We're talking nouns.
Nouns, yeah, but specifically how we talk about their quantity. Countable, uncountable.
Exactly. Things like many, much, some, any. All those little words that can be surprisingly tricky.
They really can. But hopefully we can give you some of those, aha moments today.
That's the goal. Make these concepts just sort of click. So let's dive in. Maybe starting with a situation that feels pretty everyday. Okay, our journey begins with a scenario from the source material. It's Alan and Sara.
Ah, yes, the apartment hunt conversation.
Exactly. They're trying to write an advert for a spare room, something lots of us have probably done, right?
Definitely. And what's great about it, linguistically speaking, is how much grammar is just naturally embedded in there. They're using these countable and uncountable concepts without even thinking about it.
Right. So the task in the source is actually about listening for the furniture details.
Yeah. So Sara mentions things like a bed and a great wardrobe.
Okay, specific things.
Right. And she adds, it's got a few shelves. Then Alan points out there's a good study desk.
All things you can easily picture counting. One bed, one wardrobe, a few shelves.
Precisely. Classic countable nouns. You can put a number to them.
But then they also mention things that are, well, less concrete, more abstract maybe.
Exactly. Things you wouldn't typically count individually. Like Alan notes they have so much space.
You feel space, you don't really count spaces in that context.
Exactly. Or he says the natural light is really nice. Light is a general concept. And Sara mentions there isn't much room in there, meaning capacity, not like individual rooms.
Right. And they talk about furniture generally or transport, electricity.
Yeah, and the source actually groups these. Group 1 has the countables, advertisement windows, bed, desk.
The things we can list.
And group 2 has the uncountables, money, news, accommodation, furniture, transport, electricity, concepts, materials, stuff like that.
It really shows the basic distinction right from that simple chat.
Absolutely. And even there, you hear so much space, or Alan saying, few rooms have such good natural light, and Sarah's a few shelves.
Which already points towards the next thing, not just what kind of noun, but how much or how many.
Exactly, quantifying them.
Okay, so we've seen them in action, sort of organically.
Yeah.
But let's break it down. What are the actual rules here? The grammar logic behind countable and uncountable.
Yeah, let's look at the core principles from the source. Understanding this isn't just about being correct, it's about expressing yourself clearly with nuance.
What?
So countable nouns, think of them like individual items, bricks maybe.
Okay, you can count bricks.
Exactly, 1 brick, 2 bricks.
Yeah.
So the source says they generally have singular and plural forms, like a window, lots of windows.
Makes sense.
And they take singular or plural verbs accordingly. The window is big, the windows are big, simple enough.
You can use singular or plural pronouns too, like that desk, it's better, or shelves. They're really handy.
Got it.
And you can count them with numbers, 3 drawers, or measure them if they come in units, like 2 kilos of potatoes.
And the big one, you can use a or an.
Absolutely. A desk, an apple. Yeah. It's a key identifier for singular countables.
Okay, so that's countables. What about the uncountables then? More like sand, you said.
Yeah, exactly. Sand, water, advice, information. You don't count the individual grains or drops. You measure the amount.
So no plurals.
Generally, no. You wouldn't say advices or furnitures. That's a really common mistake. It's just advice, furniture.
Right.
And because we see them as a single mass or concept, they always take a singular verb, even if there's a lot of it.
Ah, okay. So the natural light is nice, not are nice.
Exactly. Or the furniture is old, and you use a singular pronoun. Furniture. It is comfortable.
Makes sense. And measuring them. You use weights or measures, like 2 kilos of sugar, or reciprocal words called partitives. Things like a piece of, a cup of, a bit of, a slice of.
Like a piece of information.
Precisely. And crucially, you cannot use a Kenyan with uncountables. You don't say an information or a furniture.
Okay, that distinction about Anian seems really helpful.
It is. It's a good quick check.
But English loves its exceptions, right? Are there nouns that sort of break these rules?
Oh, absolutely. That's where it gets interesting. The source points out a few things. Some countable nouns, for instance, only exist in the plural.
Like
clothes, trousers, scissors, glasses. You always talk about them as a pair or a set, even if you mean one item. You need a pair of to make them singular.
Right, you wouldn't say a trouser.
Got it. And conversely, some uncountables look plural because they end in A's, but they're actually singular.
Like news.
Exactly. News, mathematics, physics, economics. They all take a singular verb. The news is good. Physics is hard.
Okay, that's a common trap.
Definitely. But maybe the most interesting bit where lots of learners have that aha moment is when a noun can be both.
Both countable and uncountable. How does that work?
It depends entirely on the meaning and context. Think about light from Alan and Sara's chat.
Okay.
The natural light is really nice. There, light is uncountable. It's the general phenomenon of illumination.
Right, like sunshine.
Exactly. But then Sara says, both of the lights in the ceiling are really old. Now she means the specific light fixtures, the bulbs or lamps.
Oh, so those you can count. One light, two lights.
Precisely. Same with room. There isn't much room means space, uncountable. But there are 3 rooms upstairs means distinct areas, countable.
Okay, I see. Like coffee, too.
Perfect example. Do you drink much coffee? A general substance, uncountable. Versus, can I have 2 coffees, please? Meaning 2 cups of coffee, countable.
Or cake. I love cake. Versus a piece of cake. Or even 3 cakes if you mean whole ones.
Exactly. Understanding this flexibility that the meaning dictates the category is really key to using these nouns naturally.
Okay, so we've got a handle on identifying the noun type. Now, how do we talk about quantity? This feels like the next big step. We need words like some, any, much, many.
Yes, choosing the right quantifier is crucial for precision. Let's start with some and any, as they're very common.
Okay.
The basic guideline from our source, some, is generally for positive statements.
Like there are some biscuits left.
Exactly. Or in Alan and Sara's case, there are some shelves. It implies an unspecified amount. Maybe not huge, but it exists.
And you mentioned offers and requests, too.
Yes, that's a key use. Would you like some help? Or can I have some water, please? Even though it's a question, it's expecting a positive response or making an offer.
Okay, so some for positive vibes, generally. What about any?
Any usually comes into play in negative statements and most questions.
Like, I don't have any money.
Right. Or, do you have any questions? Or from the source, my desk hasn't got any drawers.
Negative questions. Got it. But you mentioned another meaning for any.
Yes. In positive sentences, any can mean something like, it doesn't matter which how.
How so?
Like, pick any card. It means choose whichever one you want, or you can call me any time. No specific time is required.
Ah, okay. That's a useful distinction. And what about no?
Good point. The source reminds us that no plus noun basically means the same as not any.
So I have no money is the same as I don't have any money.
Pretty much, yeah. My desk has got no drawers equals my desk hasn't got any drawers. It's often a bit more emphatic.
And this applies to compounds like something, anything, too.
Exactly the same pattern. I need something. I don't need anything. Do you need anything?
Okay, some and any are clearer now. But what about the others? Like much, many, lots of. Alan used so much space.
Right. So the core distinction here, according to the source table, is many goes with plural countable nouns.
Many friends, many problems, many ideas.
Exactly. And its formal friends are phrases like a large number of, a considerable number of.
Okay, and much.
Much is for uncountable nouns.
Much traffic, much fun, much advice. Like so much space.
Precisely. And the formal versions use amount, a large amount of it, a substantial amount of.
What about a lot of or lots of? They feel really common.
They are, and they're super useful because they work for both countable and uncountable nouns.
Oh, handy.
Very. A lot of people, a lot of information, lots of books, lots of furniture. The only thing is they tend to be a bit less formal than much and many.
Okay, that makes sense for everyday conversation.
Definitely. Now, one area that often causes confusion.
Let me guess. Few versus a few. And little versus a little.
You got it. It seems like such a tiny difference, just adding an A, but it changes the meaning quite a bit.
How so? What's the real difference?
It's mainly about connotation, the feeling behind the word. Few and little, without the A, usually have a negative or limiting feel. They mean not many or not much, often implying not enough.
Okay, so kind of pessimistic.
Sort of, yeah, like Alan's example. Few rooms have such good natural light. It emphasizes the scarcity, how rare it is. Or if you say, I have little hope, it sounds quite negative.
Right, so what about with the A? A few and a little.
They're more positive or at least neutral. They just mean a small number or a small amount. There is some, even if it's not a lot.
So, I have a few friends who can help. Sounds better than I have few friends who can help.
Definitely. The first means you do have some friends available. The second implies you lack sufficient friends for the task. Same with a little. I have a little time means you have some time, maybe enough. I have little time means you're rushed, probably not enough time.
Wow, okay, that carries a lot of weight.
It really does. It's all about whether you're focusing on the presence of a small amount or the absence of a large amount.
Are there any other usage notes for these quantifiers? Like traps to avoid?
Yeah, a couple of good ones from the source. First, in more formal English, especially in negative statements, people tend to avoid lots of.
So instead of, we don't have lots of time,
You'd more likely say, we don't have a lot of time, or perhaps we don't have much time. Lots of feels a bit too informal there for some contexts.
okay, good tip. Anything else?
And similarly, using much in positive statements can sometimes sound a bit formal or even slightly dated in everyday chat.
So instead of, I have much work to do,
You'd usually just say, I have a lot of work to do, or I have lots of work to do. It just flows a bit more naturally in most positive sentences today. Much is perfectly fine in questions, how much work,
yeah,
and negatives, not much work.
got it. So prefer lots of in positive statements unless you're being deliberately formal.
That's a pretty good rule of thumb, yeah.
All right. We've got the types of nouns. We've got the words to quantify them. Now, let's bring it all home. How does this actually play out? Where do people typically slip up when they're trying to use this stuff?
Great question. Because, understanding the rules is one thing, applying them smoothly is another. This is where practice and awareness really come in. Our source material has exercises that directly target these points. For instance, choosing the right verb form. You might see something like, the data shows interesting trends.
Okay, data. That's a tricky one. Looks plural.
It does, and it can be treated as plural, especially in some scientific fields, but often, particularly in general use or when seen as a single collection of information, it's treated as uncountable.
So it would take a singular verb. Data shows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In that context, data shows is often preferred. Choosing show would imply you're thinking of individual data points rather than the collective information. It subtly changes the focus.
Okay. What's another example?
How about transport to the event are included?
Okay, transport. We identified that as uncountable earlier. Like furniture.
Right, so singular concept.
Singular verb. Transport is included.
Perfect. You see, it's about connecting the noun type to the verb form consistently.
And picking the right quantity word itself must be a big one. You mentioned amount versus number.
Absolutely critical. The source uses that sleep example. The amount of sleep someone needs depends on many factors.
Right. Sleep is uncountable, so you need amount. But factors are things you can count.
So you need many, or a large number of. You couldn't say the number of sleep or depends on much factors. It just sounds wrong because the quantifier doesn't match the noun type.
That really highlights the need to identify the noun first.
Always. And another great example from the exercises contrasts sleep and hours. While sleep itself is uncountable, you might get as little as 5 hours sleep.
Uh-huh.
The hours are countable. So if you were talking about the hours themselves, you might say some people function on as few as 5 hours sleep.
Ah, because hours is countable, you use few a few. But for sleep as a concept, you use little a little.
Exactly. It shows that precision matters right down to the specific noun you're quantifying, even within the same sentence.
Okay, here's one for you listening. What about luggage or baggage? Countable or uncountable? How would you quantify it?
Think about it. Do you say, I have 3 luggages?
No, definitely not. You'd say 3 bags or 3 pieces of luggage.
Right. So luggage itself is uncountable. You'd talk about how much luggage you have or say, I have a lot of luggage.
Got it. That's a good test. And you mentioned the no versus not anything earlier.
Yes, that's another common error area. The source points out avoiding structures like not any student passed the exam.
It sounds a bit clunky.
It does. The more natural and standard structure is no student passed the exam or no holiday will ever match this one, not any holiday.
So using no directly with a noun is generally preferred over not any.
In most cases, yes. It's cleaner, more direct.
Yeah.
Mastering these kinds of distinctions, knowing why much goes here but many goes there, understanding the feel of few versus a few, that's how you go beyond just basic communication. Start really sounding natural and precise in English.
Building those connections automatically in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just flows.
Wow. Okay. That was definitely a deep dive.
Yeah.
We went from Alan and Sara's room advert all the way through Countables, uncountable, some, any, much, many, few, little. My head's spinning slightly.
Huh. It's a lot to pack in, but they're such fundamental concepts. Getting them right really unlocks a lot in English.
It really feels like it.
Yeah.
It's about clarity, isn't it? And just sounding right.
Exactly. It adds that nuance, that natural flow. Like you said, it's not just about textbook rules. It's about making sure your meaning is crystal clear, that you're communicating effectively and with confidence.
So a challenge for you listening. Next time you're reading something online, maybe an advert like Alan and Sara's, or listening to a conversation, try to actively spot the nouns. Are they countable? Uncountable? What quantifiers are being used? Why those ones?
That's a great exercise. Just paying conscious attention for a while, you start noticing patterns everywhere.
You really might surprise yourself how much clearer it all becomes when you actively look for it.
Definitely. It reinforces the learning.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope unpacking countable and uncountable nouns and all those quantifiers has given you a bit of a shortcut.
Hopefully a few aha moments along the way.
Yeah, making you feel that bit more informed and ready for your next English adventure. Thanks for listening.